a female main character, the podcast where girls chat meets the book chat.
Well
Um,
remembered.
It's been a while. We've had a lot of technical difficulties and a lot of shit happening. So there's been nearly a month, I think. So I think early January, early December
Yeah,
was
we
probably
took an
the last
extended
podcast.
Christmas break, haven't we?
Yeah, like
Always.
we did try and record. Everything went wrong.
Yeah.
Life has been hectic. But I think everyone's the same at Christmas as well. It's so busy.
I think so, yeah. We did have a really good. We're both really upset that our Christmas episode didn't work out.
Yeah.
It was such a cute episode. We bought Christmas pajamas and we were making gingerbread houses, and we done a little book swap where we swapped some Christmas books with each other.
Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah, and then it just
It's like
didn't work.
corrupted. Like the file's there, but it's not. It's just blank. So
Yeah,
I don't know. So
it's all really rather upsetting.
It really is. I was close to tears. After we finished recording, I remember checking the app and I was just like, refresh, refresh,
Yeah.
refresh.
And I was
But
like, it'll be fine, it'll appear.
Yeah, you're like, once you get home, it'll be fine.
I think that would have been like one of my favourite episodes to look back on as well. It was a good way to wrap up our first few months at the pod. Well, first few weeks. I don't know how long we started this, like November. Would have been a nice wrap up, but oh well.
Yeah, anyway.
We're here now.
Yeah, it's now nearly the end of January, but we're back, and I feel like we've got a lot to talk about, a lot to catch up on.
Yeah.
Should we start with the last week and then go backwards? Like, what have you been reading this week, or what have you read since the last pod?
Yeah, I guess it makes sense. Let's go backwards. I've been reading loads because it's January and I don't want to go outside ever.
It's been so snowy here as well in the UK.
Yeah, way too cold to even think about going outside. Yes, I've been reading quite a lot. I think I've read like 12 books in January,
That's so
which
good.
is insane.
Yeah.
But I've had so many good books recently. Um, I don't even know where to start.
Do you want to start with Addie LaRue, the good one that you love?
Okay, yeah, that's going to be so hard to top. So I read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue as one of probably the first books I read this Jan, and I genuinely don't think it's going to get any better for me this year. I actually don't like that is my perfect book. I cannot believe that I've been sat on that for so long.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I listened to the audiobook. So I'm excited now to be able to get a chance to read the book too. So I'm going to pick it up and read it, which is good. But I'm going to give myself like 6 months so that I don't try and absorb it all at once.
Yeah. So I started the audiobook when you were like, you need to, like, you've finished it and you're like, you have to read this, you have to. And I was at work, so I was like, right, I'll put the audiobook on. And I really liked listening to it. I genuinely think I'm not an audiobook person because
that's interesting.
So I started reading it and I was like, is this the same book? Like, I was like, obviously I knew it was, but I just think when I read, I really immerse myself in it and I really visualize and I really get into it and I loved reading it, which I liked listening to it. It was like entertaining, but I just genuinely don't feel like it goes into
It doesn't
my
process
brain.
the same way.
Yeah, like
That's
reading
interesting.
is just a completely different experience for me.
You should try doing that thing that we keep talking about that Lucy does with Addie LaRue. Listen and read at the same time, which I've still not tried. That is just mind-boggling to me every time I think about it.
I feel like I just never stop though but also I feel like I read way faster than the audiobook runs. Because I read like I think I'd listened to like an hour or so. No, not an hour. No, probably like 40 minutes of the audiobook. But reading it, I literally like stayed up till like 2 a.m. and like read so much of it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I listen to audiobooks on at least 1.5 depended on kind of what's happening in the scene. Addie LaRue, loads of stuff. So I didn't know anything about it going in. I didn't read any reviews. I'd just seen people being like, "This is so good." So I knew people were talking about it, and it came out in like 22, I think, 2022. So it's been out for a few years, but I didn't know anything about it. So loads of the complaints that people say that I found afterwards, after I was like, because one of the first things you do, isn't it, is you run to Goodreads and you're like, does everyone else love this book? Like, I need to know. And I did that, and loads of people complain that it's too slow, which was quite interesting. Loads of people complain that there's not enough spice, which, I mean, we're just, yeah. That is that is me and Charlotte's official stance after being involved in the book talk space for like 6 months now.
So I actually have this written down because I've got an obsession with trying to read Dune before I watch it. It's never going to happen. I'm never going to watch the films at this rate. But it keeps coming up on my... I keep seeing... there was a guy that's reading it and he kind of made like a funny little TikTok, and it's one of those where you kind of have to... Like, I can't remember. It's like a TikTok sound, and he's kind of like... He's reading and then they say something and he's like, what the hell is that? And he has to keep going back. And that's how it was for me. I just felt like there's so much...
Information overload.
Yeah, I'd just have to be unemployed to be able to like read that book. But so I went straight to the comments because I was like, haha, that's exactly my experience. Went to the comments and just straight away there was someone being like, oh, I've heard that Dune is spicy. And I'm just like, what are you on? What is wrong?
I have no words for this. I actually have no words. Like,
it's literally sci-fi. Can we just stop? Not everything has to be sexualized.
The thing is with Addie LaRue as well, it's a romance. I mean, I don't want to spoil it for anyone. It's not a romance, and I wouldn't set that expectation. But it's a romance for the girlies that think Nosferatu is a romance. It's that style of romance.
Us.
Literally us. So, like, it's a really specific demographic. I just don't think that it doesn't need to be, not everything needs to be explicit, does it? So, no. And it's really pissing me off, to be honest, as a way of like marking down books or DNFing books just because there's no spice in it. I think it's such a bizarre take.
Yeah, I think it's so fine if that's what you want to read. Like for years now, it's been a thing where people want to read like erotic novels. It's never not been a thing.
It's not a new thing. I remember like Stacey's mummy when we were younger would always have her. She'd always have those books on the side, and they used to have really specific covers, didn't they?
Yes.
They go through phases. Like, that's another thing. They go through phases of cover art.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember them so well. So they've always been a thing. I mean, that was literally 20 years ago. So it's not new. It's just TikTok's really sensationalized it, I guess, and brought it to a whole new level. Yeah. But then entering other genres, or because that is a genre to me in itself. Erotica novels are a genre, or a genre. And that's what it's crept in, hasn't it? To romance is now coming with this expectation of being erotica. Romantasy is coming with this expectation of being erotica. And it's not. It can remain separate, and that's okay.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's fine if that's what you're into, but you can't just like a book badly because you think it doesn't have enough spice in it.
Yeah, and you are pissing other people off when you do that. Because it pissed me off when I ran to the comments about Addie LaRue. The slow one I can understand. Pacing of novels is a very personal take when it comes to reading, so I can kind of get behind that one. But yeah, the erotica thing. Anyway, let's talk about Nosferatu.
Yeah.
If you liked Nosferatu, please read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Because it is the same. I see it in the same lens. Like, I see it the same way that was depicted. Oh, it's just so good. For if anyone's wondering, it was one of the best cinema experiences we've ever had.
Yeah, we've not stopped talking about it since seeing it, which was what, last Thursday? No, it was last Tuesday. Oh,
yeah, last week. Last week, yeah. It is a bad omen to travel in poor health. I can't stop every.
This is the first night.
Today is the first day, just so
Just so
you
you
know.
know. Yeah,
I'm
we're
obsessed.
obsessed. But yeah, what a beautiful film. Like one
So
of the
good.
best visual films I've seen for a long time.
I want to read Dracula now. We should do a Dracula read along.
Yeah, I've never read it, so I think that'd be a good shout.
I remember
Um,
my mum. It's what my mum has two favorite books: Dracula and Little Women.
wow.
Eileen is super into horror. Stephen King books. I'm sure she probably has a favorite Stephen King novel as well, but I actually don't know what it is.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd like to read some horror this year.
yeah, I think horror is kind of my genre. I've been reading loads. I've got introduced to loads of new authors, I guess, from reading loads of books this early on in January. And I really like Ava Reid, and I'm not late. I think I'm late for this party as well. Like this is not groundbreaking, but
I
she's
think
kind
someone
of
sent
like,
me one of her books.
oh, what is it?
Um, let me
Is it a
check because
study in
maybe it's not.
drowning?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
I've
this
read
one.
that. Really good. It's kind of horror, gothic fairy tale,
Yeah.
fantasy. It's a culmination of all those three things. Again, loads of people say that the pacing can be really slow in her work, and that it's too. Another thing that people like to criticize books saying it's got too many words.
Like, go read a
What
comic
do you
at that
mean?
point.
um, she's quite like a lyrical. I don't even think it's that lyrical. I just think if you're used to reading um a certain kind of book and you pick up hers outside of that, it's that barrier that you're crossing.
Yeah.
But really good. Like they're a good horror entry into horror. I
Hmm.
was definitely scared at reading A Study in Drowning, and I think it's YA.
Do you know, like, the only horror I've ever read is Stephen King, but I used to be obsessed with reading short horror stories, on like Reddit.
Mm.
I was obsessed.
I'm not surprised you're obsessed with stuff like that because you love watching
Yeah, horror's like
short horror stories as well, so it makes sense that you would like to read them.
yeah, horror's like one of my favorite genres. I've got a lot of horror like mangas, like Junji Ito. I don't know if you've ever you will have definitely have seen like we were both Tumblr girlies and it was all over Tumblr like when we were like and it
As soon as you started talking about it, I was thinking of Tumblr.
yeah, it was so big. And I've got a couple of books now and the horror is just it's just really like beautifully written even though it's obviously visual. But yeah, he did actually a series on Netflix recently that was really good.
Oh,
They animated some of his stories.
it's scary.
Yeah, I find it scary, but I think a lot of his it's like really absurd horror. In movies, I like horror where it's like this could actually happen to me. That's
Mm.
scary to me, but this is yeah like absurd.
I always think the scariest horror movies are ones that are that it just turns out to be a person.
Yeah, yeah,
They're the scariest horror stories to me because people are scary. I'm
yeah.
not really that scared by the demonic kind of stuff. I guess because
No,
I don't really believe in it. This is so funny. Me and Charlotte were talking. Was it me and you were talking about ghosts? And I said that I read that thing where someone was like, "If ghosts were real, why does no one ever see any ghost dinosaurs?"
ghost dinosaurs and like ghost ants, like ghost bug ghosts.
Yeah,
Would that
ghost
be a
wasps and that.
thing? That's so
it,
funny.
it is so funny. And it's just that's I think that just adds weight to the argument of how much it can really be in your mind. Yeah, the human mind I think is the scariest thing. If you're being put off of going to see Nosferatu because you think it's scary, don't be put off by that.
No.
Because I know we're talking about it. It is a horror movie, but it's kind of Disney Disney and so many other animations and cartoons have done this kind of Dracula that it's so far to the point now that you kind of know what to expect. So
Mhm.
when you go into Nosferatu, the actual like Count Orlok isn't a scary thing to he's scary, but it's not gonna like shake. it's not going to shake you up scary. You're not going to like lose sleep over it. I don't
No.
think.
No, that's what I was just thinking. I don't think it was scary at all. We were
No.
laughing at some points of it, but it was more that,
Well, because
like,
it
it
was
was
fucking
just,
funny. Like
yeah, like,
it was just golden the whole way through. It was just so good.
like there was definitely points where it was supposed to be funny because a lot of the time I was just like, am I supposed to be laughing at this? But then Willem Dafoe's character and there's a certain scene where I was just like, this is so funny, like just like comedic, like
Yeah, it is
timing
really
and
funny,
like
and it's really funny. It's kind of spooky in the right way. It's not terrifying.
no, I wouldn't
I
say
guess the
terrifying at
scariest
all.
bit, no, the
There is some
scariest bits
jump
are
scares.
probably, yeah, but I think the scariest bits are probably kind of the exorcism-y kind of bits where she's having like full body seizures. That's probably the scariest bit. Um,
I think it's the music though, and at those points, I think that heightened
yeah, well, that's what
orchestral,
they do, isn't it, in horror films?
yeah,
So good though, so
yeah,
good.
just
So please read Annie LaRue.
stunning.
Can everyone please read it and talk to me about it? Because I loved it so much. It was so, so good. I can't wait to read some more of the Swab books as well now.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
need a fix.
I really like her writing.
What have you been reading then?
So I read The Vegetarian by Han Kang, which was so desperately sad. It was just a novel about like mental health essentially, but I think it has like undertones of like women's like rights, and it was just very sad to read but genuinely profound and really beautiful at the same time. Like,
Was it like just literary fiction?
yeah, yeah, there's this really gorgeous metaphor throughout it about kind of being a tree. I don't want to spoil it too much for anyone that does want to read it, but yeah, I think anyone who's like suffered with any kind of mental health, and when you're trying to understand what's going on mentally, I think when someone puts it into a novel where it's written almost like you can visually see it,
Mm.
I think it's
Did you buy this book? Might have to
yeah,
borrow it.
yeah, I'll lend you it. It's really, really good. I read it really quickly, and now I really want to read more of her books. Like I think
It's good
is
when
the
that
White
happens, isn't
Book.
it? Such a good
Yeah,
feeling.
yeah. So I'm gonna order a couple more. I've been checking out the library because I think there's a couple at Leeds Library. So I'm gonna
I've forced Charlotte into
grab those.
finally, I've convinced her to finally get a library card.
Yeah.
If
Well,
anyone's
there's
wondering
literally a
how I've
library
read,
you could walk to,
yeah,
and I was
if
like, I
anyone's
didn't even
wondering how
realise.
I've read so many books this year, it's the library. It is the best thing ever. I love it so much. Like, and you don't even have to leave your house. You can literally get ebooks as well if you
Yeah,
want to read on your phone.
that's how I'm reading Addie LaRue. But I didn't realise it was free. Like, I know that's so stupid, but I think anytime I've had a library card is when I've been in education, so I just assumed
Just
it was kind
assumed
of like if you're
student,
in education,
yeah.
you get for free, if not, you don't. And so I think it's surprising, like, the world that we live in and like the
It's a use it or lose
misinformation
it
that's
though.
spread. Yeah, like you have like knowledge at your fingertips almost, and people just don't.
Actually, libraries are actually incredible. I am such a library advocate. I would get involved in anything that is going to promote the library to people because I genuinely think it's incredible.
Yeah.
And not only can you get books and stuff, but you can get DVDs, you can get games. So if you wanted to try like different games for Christmas and stuff with your family, you can literally rent games. It's
Mm.
just so good. And
The
it's a really nice place as well. So I've been like going to my local library a lot, and there's people that like a lot of older people and stuff sitting there, and they've got free tea and coffee and newspapers and magazines as well. It's just such a nice thing to have. I can't believe it's a resource that we don't scream about having enough.
I think yeah, because I remember being a kid, and there used to be a library kind of over the road from me, and we used to go all the time. Like after school, we'd walk home and go to the library, and it's a hub, isn't it? A community hub. But now
Community.
I just feel like it just doesn't. I don't know. Just doesn't have that same appeal to everyone. I know it does
Yeah.
to some, but yeah. So I'll definitely be going to my library. We should definitely go to the one in Leeds in the art gallery because that's stunning.
Yeah, we should. Me and Sarah went into the Manchester Library as well.
Yeah,
When we went
yeah,
when we went to see Burlesque the musical, we were just like, should we just nip into the library? Had a look round.
I
It was
love
massive
libraries.
and so beautiful.
Yeah,
Such a
the
nice place,
one,
honestly. I love a library.
yeah, the one in London. I can't remember which building it is, but it's genuinely stunning. Like it's like just walls and walls and walls and walls of books, and I
When
remember
we're
going.
when we're in Dublin, we should go to that really famous one in Dublin that I forget the name of. When we're
Is
in
it the
Dublin in summer,
college or because I think I looked and there was one.
Trinity College. It's called like that's the name of the uni, but I don't know if that's what the library's called. It could be.
Maybe
They're going to normal people, right?
library reviews.
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
Honestly, I would like I love the library. I'll go round them all. The ones right, so I live in Calderdale, and the ones in Calderdale are all so pretty as well. I mean, there's a few that are just like a 1960s bungalow style, typical
Yeah.
kind of library, which is fine. Still, a library's a library. But like the one in Bregart, the one that I go to, is an old Georgian building, and I'm so obsessed with it. It's so gorgeous.
I
The one
think did you
in,
post a video on your TikTok of it?
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
remember.
The one in Elland, no, not Elland, Rastrick. The one in Rastrick is an old Victorian building, and
Oh,
it's a
beautiful.
purpose-built library, Victorian library. So it's all what's that kind of glass called? Stained glass,
Hmm.
original stained glass that says like library.
Beautiful.
It's so gorgeous, and it's all oak wood inside with like little purpose-built booths.
Cute.
It's honestly, it's just so beautiful. Like, yeah, use them or lose them because they're the best. And I see everyone like buying TikTok recommended books, and I'm getting
Yeah,
really upset that they don't like the book.
I
Go
think
to
that
the
was the
library.
thing. Yeah, like I've got so many books at the minute, and like the majority, yeah, I've read them and I love them, and I make notes in books, and I think that's why I like to buy them. But there's a
Hmm.
couple of books where I've read like a couple of pages, and I'm just like, I don't want to read this.
No,
And like,
and
yeah,
that's
I'll donate them, but it's just kind of like I could have just got it from the library and then returned it.
yeah, and you can buy the ones that you know you do like then, and then you
Mm,
can go back, like you almost get to go back through it then and make your notes and stuff and pick out stuff.
yeah.
So it's quite nice. Have you read anything that you haven't liked over the Christmas break?
I did start this Yeonam Dong Smiley Laundromat. I don't know what it's about. Like, it feels like a collection of stories, but I'm just not into it. I'm not immersed in it whatsoever. Um, the Christmas books that we
Yeah,
that we
let's
spoke,
talk about Christmas
yeah,
novellas.
because you
We
read
talked about them.
yours.
Yeah,
I DNF'd
we talked
mine.
about them so much, didn't we? Whenever we
Yeah.
were doing our Christmas video.
Like, I can't even remember, it was so long ago, but essentially, like, I really wanted to get Maria, like, a smut book. Like, when I was looking into, like, um, Christmas books, there were so many that had the most hilarious names you've ever heard. I'm trying to remember now, it was so long ago.
No, you did send me some really funny ones as well, but I forget what they were. They were just I don't understand the market of
Christmas
these Christmas
books.
novellas. But yeah, I just don't think I'm the target market. So you bought me um my December Darling maybe or your December Darling, something December Darling.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, I have no words. It was just I mean, I finished it in like 3 hours. It was really, really short. Um, it was just I'm just not the right audience. I
No.
honestly think if I say anything mean about this, so many people are gonna come to my neck. Like, you're not a girl's girl. You hate women.
You're a misogynist.
I mean, I could make some arguments that the contents of that book is misogynistic, but and
Yeah, I think.
upholds really bad ideals, but let's not go there, I suppose.
So, for context, what I was going for was I'd seen quite a lot of books on TikTok that were like a. Well, this one was a Thanksgiving one, obviously, but it was a turkey that is also a man. And then there was the one where it was
Yes,
the.
the
The,
Christmas
the
trees.
Christmas trees, and that's what I wanted. Like that was a vibe, like something so ridiculous that was. And then I can't find them now, but there's just so many that had hilarious
Oh, that
names. Like,
Christmas tree one was so funny. So we read out the thing for that, didn't we? So the girl goes to a Christmas tree farm, and she this what find out the name of it while I describe it. So this girl goes to a Christmas tree farm, and she comes across three Christmas trees that were actually men that were turned into Christmas trees in the 1980s. And when they're around her, they come to life as men, not as trees. And they have the opportunity, she has the opportunity to, like, if she falls in love with one of them, it'll break their curse or something like that. Oh God,
it's called The
Christmas.
Christmas Tree Farm, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna read it next
Do you know
Christmas.
what the worst part is? I completely overlooked it because that's what the
No,
cover
that's
is.
not it.
No,
It's
this is
not.
in erotic BDSM fiction. So I think it is. Hang on,
The
before we
book?
like.
Charlotte's just, if anyone's just listening and not watching, Charlotte's just showed the cover of that novel, and it's a, a cute little animated cottage. Looks like something I'd pick
Wait,
up and read
wait.
my niece. It can't be
Oh,
that.
I'm pretty sure it is. Oh, come on. It keeps taking me to Amazon. It's got like a really vague description, but it sounds like it. No, no, I don't think it is.
No, I didn't think it was. It couldn't have been that.
No, that's the same author that wrote that Pumpkin Spice Cafe. Why can't I find it then?
Oh, that makes sense. Those covers look similar. Girl girl takes home three Christmas tree men.
That's what I'm like.
Oh, we'll post the right, we can't find it basically.
Yeah.
We'll post the title in the description because I know that's gonna like curiosity is piqued. I'll tell you what, it's a good sales pitch. And there
I
is some
think,
really funny videos of people reading it and reacting to it as well.
yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, you see it online and then you're like, this sounds hilarious, and you kind of want to read it, but I don't think I'd make it through 3 chapters.
I have to say that one you bought me was not my vibe at all.
No, I
It
remember
was
you.
a really tough read for me, that.
I'm surprised we.
A really
I'm
tough
surprised you
read.
got through it. I.
Not only was the contents of the actual novel not what I would normally want to read, but the print of the actual book,
It was so bad.
it was just so like jagged and all over the place, and it, some of the letters were like printed a few times on top of it. It was really bad production. It was a cash grab, and I wouldn't be surprised if it came out that that book was written by AI and just edited by a human. I
Yeah.
genuinely think that AI would create some of the sentences that I had to read in that book. Just
Mm,
not for me. Not for me. I'm not the target audience.
no. I think at the minute I'm
No.
so conscious about I sent you that article the other day, right, where it's someone had written a book and then in the middle it was like the chat GPT. Is this what you were looking for? Like they'd left it in the actual
No, you didn't send me
manuscript.
that.
Did I not?
Oh my
Oh,
God.
I'm not going to look for it or else I'll just be sat on my phone for like 10 minutes. But yeah, there was a book recently and it looks like she'd sent part of her novel into chat GPT and I think she'd asked them to like add bits in. So she'd sent it and I was like, oh,
Wow.
can you make the characters? I don't even know. I can't remember where it
And then
was.
did it
And
even
so
edit it?
that's the part that gets me.
I
So in
mean,
the middle, it's
you'd at least search for like control find and search ChatGPT to make sure it's not left anything in there.
Yeah, so
Wow.
bad. But yeah,
I
it
I mean,
must definitely be a thing at the minute. Like AI is
mm,
so prevalent now. I just think.
yeah, we don't really realize how much it's going to impact um, different arts, I guess. Yet it's still quite new. I use it in my job all day long.
Yeah, me too.
It
Constantly.
makes it makes a lot of digital office life so much easier. But I do agree, it doesn't have any place in writing the contents of a novel.
No, no, not at all.
I want to hear what you have to say, not what the computer has to say.
I just think it's lazy though too. It's kind of like
Agreed.
I
That's why I
think
use it at work. The lazier the better at work, not in.
but what I use ChatGPT for as well is like you can see it now on Google where when you search on Google it comes up with an AI summary of
Hmm.
kind of everything,
Yeah.
which is what I use ChatGPT for. Like if I'm looking for information on something that I don't know anything about, rather than
Mm.
me sitting there and completely researching all of the internet and compiling all of the articles, I can just ask ChatGPT and then write my own from the information it gives me.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we can't
Because you
use
can add
because I work at
context
like,
there and
yeah,
be like, I work for this brand and I'm doing this, and then it gives me it from that perspective, so it just makes everything easier.
yeah. It definitely has no place in like writing stories though, right? It just
No.
seems I mean, where would you draw the line? Because you could just anyone could put out anything and be making money from it in the same way that someone who it's not your art. So
No.
why should you be able to copyright something that isn't your art? And that's where it's wrong.
Hmm.
You can't do that. That's just yeah,
Not how
I
it
don't know. It's just
works.
odd. And it's just so boring, like and
Yeah.
lazy. And it I guess this kind of is full circle on that conversation of if you just read the same thing over and over again, you probably wouldn't give a shit because you want that same kind of thing over and over again.
Yeah.
But
Sometimes though, we're like we've had this conversation before about like fanfics, but some of the level of writing of like fanfics that are really popular, and I'm just like,
mm,
how is anyone reading this?
yeah,
So bad.
the manacles cover art came out this week, didn't it? We were talking about
Mm.
that. So
Yeah.
manacles, if anyone doesn't know, isn't in the fanfic world, manacles is the Draco and Hermione fanfic that takes place when Voldemort actually wins the fight and
Hmm.
the world is taken over by all of the dark wizards rather than Harry and the Scooby Gang. Um, and it's probably one of the most famous fanfics ever written, and it's been
Yeah,
turned into
definitely.
a book this year. Um, but they seem to be going about that one in the right way. They're removing, so it's not going to be called manacled, it's going to be called alchemized. And we had a good chat about it this week because the
Mm.
author, whose name I forget, she, if you go on her Instagram, has kept up all the stuff about manacled. Like she's not shying away that from she's not trying to say that this book is the same.
Mm.
She's just using it as the inspiration to write
Yeah.
Alchemized. So it
And I
seems
think
like
it's
they're going about that in the right way,
yeah, it's
hopefully.
completely like we know it's possible to do that if you look at, you know, oh my god, what is it called? 50 Shades. And
Yeah.
there's
Well,
another one, right?
yeah, like most people's books are inspired by another film or another book. They
Mm.
just completely put their own spin on that story. I
Yeah.
think the argument is if it's if you're reading it and you're so distracted by it because it seems if you're reading a novel and you're so distracted because it seems that everything is just so close to something else you've read, that's personally where I think a line has been crossed, or
Yeah.
that it's so beyond obvious that it's word for word something else or lifted from somewhere else. But if you're reading it and it's that's not what's happening, they just took something as inspiration and
Mm.
completely set it in its own world, and you could pick it up and never even know that it was related to that other thing. That's inspiration, isn't it? So
Yeah,
that's how the world
definitely.
turns. That's how we all think.
Yeah.
I mean, everything is, you just have to look at trends, don't you? It's like 10, 15 years ago, everything was vampires and teenagers being turned into vampires by really old vampire men.
We've come
And
full circle because now
we're going
Nosferatu
back
came
into
out
vampires,
and we're
yeah.
all lusting over a vampire again.
Come for me, Count Orlog. I'm ready.
Take me away. Oh, so funny.
Funny. Anyway, should we wrap it up for this week? Because we're getting back in the swing of things. We're just chatting some shit. We've got loads of stuff coming up. We
Yeah,
just need to
definitely have a
actually
more
sit down and make some
structured.
plans.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think we're gonna do definitely a bit of a wrap up on A Court of Thorns and Roses, aren't we? We've got some final thoughts on where we're at now. We're wrapping up with the
Special
last.
thoughts.
Yeah, we're wrapping up with Silver Flames. We'll probably get the book club involved because that'll be fun.
Yeah, I think we want to be like done with the Court of Thorn and Roses now. Like,
Yeah, I think we're gonna park that for until something's changed. I think it's kind of goes against what we believe in maybe and things yeah, just some
yeah,
beliefs we hold, I guess. So we're just gonna park the Akatar chat for a
yeah. But
while.
we've got
After that,
lots
we'll
of
wrap up though.
ideas, so yeah. We'll see you next time. Hopefully
Yep,
soon. We'll have an in-person episode, which will be fun.
yeah. Together, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
not on the screen.
And I thought you meant like in person, like with an audience. And I was like, oh, when?
Where?
Damn.
Just us in like a pub karaoke night. Okay.
Funny.
So yeah, we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.
Everyone.
Bye.